Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Robert shuddered and entered the dark room. "Come this way, please." The orderly led him down some long corridors. Finally, they found themselves in a light-filled hall. There was a table in the middle, a lifeless body lying on it under a sheet. The young man took a deep breath, trying to cope with the lump of tears in his throat. He couldn't get himself under control. "Are you ready?" The pathologist looked at Robert carefully. "Yes," the man whispered, finally regaining his composure. The orderly pulled back the white sheet, and Robert went pale and swayed, grabbing the edge of the couch. "Is that her?" "It's her, it's Melissa. There's no doubt about it." "Who are you to the deceased?" "Me, I'm her fiancé. We had everything ready for the wedding." "I'm sorry for your loss. She was so young. She should have lived and lived." "Be strong. You've got the most difficult ordeal ahead of you, the funeral." "I can't believe it." In a trembling voice, the grief-stricken man said, "She's gone. Just a few hours ago, I was hugging her, kissing her, and she was laughing. She has an amazing laugh, and now—" He touched his bride's lifeless hand. "Her hand is cold. She will never smile at me again. How can this be?" He clutched his hands to his head, groaned, "To accept such a death. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Though I look at her and see that it is her. Death and Melissa are incompatible. It doesn't make sense. I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams that this could happen. She loved life so much. God, why? Why did He take her away from me? How happy she and I would have been together. Why is the world so unfair? My darling, how can I be without you? If I had been with you that night, I would have saved you. I would have died, but you would still be alive. But I wasn't there. My darling, my darling?" "Yes," the pathologist sighed. "Too bad about her and the baby. She could have had more children. She's beautiful." "What baby?" The man looked at her, uncomprehending. "You didn't know?" The doctor shrugged. "Your fiancée was pregnant, 8 weeks already." "I'm sorry. This must be hard for you to hear." "Pregnant? What do you mean?" The bereaved groom looked from the orderly to the pathologist, bewildered by the unexpected news. He felt as if he had been knocked out from under his feet. "It can't be. You must have made a mistake. Melissa could not have been pregnant. I would have known. Maybe some other doctor could misdiagnose, but not me." The doctor shook his head. Robert turned pale. "Are you feeling all right?" An orderly asked anxiously, "Why don't I take you outside? Sit here on the bench, get some fresh air, you'll feel better." "I'm sorry for you. So many things all at once on one person's head." "Don't worry, you're young. It'll all work out. Time heals wounds like this. You'll meet a woman. She'll bring you back to life." Yes, I'd better go. I need to be alone." "It's me. It's my fault." Robert followed the orderly, not listening to him, muttering to himself. "If I'd stopped her, if I'd talked her out of going to that damn club, she'd still be alive and I didn't insist. Who could have stopped her, though? I agreed with her on everything. I couldn't say no to anything. Melissa, my Melissa, I'll never forgive myself for this. It's not your fault. No one could have known such a disaster would happen. You couldn't have known there'd be a fire, and you'd better not be alone now. Is there someone to take care of you?" The orderly asked kindly, opening the door for him, but the young man did not hear him. He was grieving. "My beloved Melissa is gone. How can I live? How can I live?" Robert wandered down the alley, seeing nothing in front of him, walking and muttering to himself under his nose like a madman. My Melissa, my girl, how will I live without you? Why? Why did you leave? I didn't keep you safe. I didn't stop you. If you'd listened to me, you'd still be alive. Honey, Melissa was fidgeting in front of the mirror, picking out an outfit. Look, what dress do you think I should wear? Her cell phone beeped subtly. Hello? Don't distract me. If you keep calling every 5 minutes, I'll never get out. The girl cheerfully spoke into the receiver. I can't decide on a dress. She complained. How impatient you are. I'll be there soon. Melissa threw the phone on the bed. Kitty, help me comprehend the zipper. How do I look? Fuck this club. Robert frowned, glancing at her unhappily. It was a night to be alone together for once. We haven't seen much of each other these days. You spend more time with your friends than you do with me. I don't like it. You're my fiancé. The phone screen flashed again. Melissa grabbed it, quickly read the message, smiled. You're not listening to me at all. Your friends are more precious to you than me. Don't be angry, Kitty. The girl jokingly kissed him on the tip of his nose. I want to dance tonight, but you can't get me to go to a club. What now? To sit at home like two pensioners and stare at each other. It's not for me. You and I have a lot of nights like this ahead of us, so you'll get tired of me. I'll never get tired of you. Can we go to a movie or just sit at home and talk? You? Why a movie? Melissa wrinkled her nose. We're not 18 years old. Tell me about sitting in the back row and kissing. What's wrong with that? But together, it's very romantic. And then we'd get in the car and drive around the city all night. No offense, but we've already arranged to meet the girls. Oh, here we go. The girl grabbed the phone again. There they are again. Yes, I'll be down in 10 minutes. Melissa laughed impatiently. Wait for it. Honey, look at me. How do I look? You're not going anywhere. Robert stood in the doorway. I don't want you to go with them. We're getting married soon, and you're always running away from me. I don't want to share you with anyone. I want to be with you every minute of every day. I don't know what's so appealing about a dark, smoky room with music blaring. And it's full of strange men, and I don't want them slapping you. Don't be mad. Melissa fixed her luxurious brown hair. It doesn't suit you, and besides, you're not my husband yet. She poked him in the stomach with her finger. Look, I might change my mind if you're going to keep restricting my freedom. Just kidding. She smiled sweetly at her lover. Don't be possessive. What can I do if I'm not a homebody? Do you want me to sit at home, knitting socks in the evenings? You must admit, it's very boring. And anyway, I'd like to go out a little before the wedding. Then I promise I'll only be around you. I'm all yours now, but I don't want to give up my friends either. Don't be a nuisance. She gently pressed her whole body against him. Don't keep me here, or my friends will come for me. You don't want them to make a fuss, do you? Please don't go. I missed you. I haven't seen you all day. I wanted to spend the evening with you. Why don't I cook dinner, or we can order in, and then we can sit together. Open a bottle of wine. The whole night is ours. I miss you too, my love. She gave him a quick kiss and deftly slipped past him to the exit. I feel like dancing for tonight. Her cell phone buzzed. Here's the message again. I'm already expected. Without stopping me. Throw the phone away. He tried to take it away from the girl. You're always talking to someone, texting. You don't care about me, and I'm your fiancé, your husband. I'm aware of that, kitten. Don't spoil my mood. Don't disappoint me. I promise it'll be the last time. Bye, honey. She sent him a kiss from the doorway. I won't be long. I'll be back before you know it. You and I have a lot of nights ahead of us. I love you. I'll be back soon. Finally met Melissa's friends right outside the club. We thought you'd never come. You're already struggling to get out of your fiance's arms now. But what happens when you're married? Will he make you stay home? It would be fun to imagine Melissa as a model mother and wife. That's hilarious. Melissa, I would love to see this picture. Can I be your firstborn's godmother? Melissa, can you cook? I'd pay a lot to see you at the kitchen table. I hope your husband dies of old age and not poisoning himself at one of the family dinners. A model wife in an apron and a frying pan in her hand. Laugh, though your jokes are inappropriate. Everything will be just the way I want it. The pretty girl replied haughtily. Robert loves me, so I have no inhibitions in our house. Why are we standing here? Let's dance. Melissa, you look amazing in that dress. Admiringly looking at her, Mason said, and me. Pouted her lips offensively, his friend Helen. And you, of course. Gently kissing her on the top of her head, reassured the young man. I'm a polite man, just had to compliment your friend. I suggest having a glass of cocktail. Melissa moved to the beat of the music. The mirror ball under the ceiling cast a glare on the dancers. The mood was perfect. For the mood, we don't mind, replied the young people and rushed to the bar. And the groom won't say anything to you? He's sitting alone at home, and you're having fun with us, and suddenly he'll get a great idea to come here. Helen took a sip, then another. Helen, Robert is the kind of man who prefers the comforts of home to the fun of the club, so I have nothing to fear. And then he realizes I'm not drinking juice here, so don't attack him. He's a good man and he loves me, and that's worth a lot, and he doesn't ask for anything in return. You'll run away from him in a week. My friend remarked, he's boring and all right. Do you really like the prospect of living with him for the rest of your life? Stop. Stop all this talk about my fiancé. Tonight we're gonna have a lot of fun. Great music. Her supple body picked up the rhythm with pleasure. Melissa gave herself over to the dance, oblivious to her surroundings. I'm tired, Helen said. Let's sit down for a while, shall we? The company sat down at the table on cozy leather sofas. You guys are so cool. Mason looked at one girl and the other with a smile. You don't drink anything at all. Should I suggest some other cocktail? 'Cause I'm supposed to be as smooth as a whistle. My baby, Robert, will be mad at me if I come home too tipsy. She looked playfully at her date, Michael. And I don't need that before the wedding. Shall we go dancing then? The man suggested. Both couples stepped onto the dance floor and moved to the music. You're so hot. Pulling her close to him, Michael said. You're a lot of fun, but I'm looking forward to more. You wouldn't deny me the pleasure of kissing you somewhere in a private corner of this room, would you? Careful. Melissa laughed, tilting her head back to get a better look at her companion. I'm married without 5 minutes. So what? The man's eyes reflected desire and admiration for the girl. Today your fiancé is not around, and you are mine for this evening. Isn't that right? I dreamed to take off this dress, to feel under my palms your silky skin. You want that too, don't you? Admit it, I can see you're trembling with impatience. Yes, I want to relax tonight. She tilted her head and laughed. She was dizzy from the cocktail she'd drunk. The music hanging in the air, the tobacco smoke, the hall lights, everything created a cheerful atmosphere. Listen, suddenly the girl stopped and looked around warily. Don't you think it smells like burning? I think so. Her companion laughed and tried to kiss his partner. It's time for a drink. Come on, our friends have been waiting for us. We should take a break. Can't you smell burning plastic? You're just imagining it. Look, everyone's dancing, and nobody notices. Don't panic. If something happened, they'd have raised the alarm long ago. Don't be a bore. Let's go to ours. I feel so good with you now. Melissa, now and then looking around, followed Michael. Anxiety did not let her go. We thought you weren't coming back. Helen pouted her lips resentfully. It's not fair to your friends. Don't disappear for too long. We're already here with you. Michael kissed her on the cheek. Melissa feels like something is burning somewhere. You shouldn't laugh. The girl furrowed her brow in concern. It really smells like something. Can't you smell it? Don't make it up. The man handed her a glass with a cocktail. Drink, relax. They impatiently drained the glasses. Now come with me. There's something we need to discuss. He glanced meaningfully at his buddies, picked up his companion, and headed out of the hall, looking for a place of privacy. I don't understand. Helen stared after the couple. What was Melissa thinking? She's about to get married, and she's out with someone else. And she's not afraid that Robert will tell about her adventures. She's desperate. I feel sorry for her fiancé. He'll have a lot of grief for her. None of your business. She's got her own head on her shoulders. That's what Mason said. I hope you're not going to tell Robert about Melissa. He sniffed uneasily. Hey, it does smell like burning. Shouldn't we be getting some fresh air? Suddenly the lights blinked. Once. The music stopped, and the hall became dark. Visitors began to light flashlights in their phones. Someone took a lighter in his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, a cheerful voice of a DJ sounded among the darkness. Please remain calm. A little trouble. But don't forget that darkness is the friend of youth. The room erupted in laughter. Have a blast. In just a few minutes, we will restore the club. At that moment, something sparked at the far end of the hall. Then small flames burst out of the darkness. They flickered once, twice, and then disappeared as if nothing had happened. There was silence in the hall. People froze, as if in a hypothetical dream, waiting for what would happen next. A few minutes later, as if by magic, the flames appeared again, and they immediately skidded on the ceiling, on the drapes, quickly spreading through the hall, covering more and more territory with fire. Thick, poisonous smoke, then more and more confidently began to spread in the air. Burn! There was a scream, and people rushed towards the exit. Please don't panic. The DJ exhorted into the microphone. Try to stay calm. Don't create a crowd. Don't block the aisles. Everything is under control. There's no cause for alarm. We're all going to go outside now. Don't crowd at the entrance. Club officials are doing everything they can to stop the fire. But the crowd didn't listen to him, sweeping away tables and chairs. People rushed for the exits. The word fire was like a trigger. Pushing, shouting people rushed into the street, dropping each other, trampling the feet of the unfortunate who, unable to hold on, fell at the feet of the panic-stricken crowd. Disregarding their cries for help, the club-goers were trying to get to the emergency exit. Please don't leave me. Let me out, let me out. The voices, gripped by fear and pain, rang out. Don't push. Don't block the entrance. You scoundrel, you hit me. Help me. I can't breathe. Do something. The people, mad with fear, tried to escape from the trap they were in. And the fire was spreading faster and faster by the minute. It licked the ceiling with its flaming tongue. Hot drops of red-hot plastic dripped down from it onto the heads of the panic-stricken clubgoers. Screams and moans came from all sides. Melissa, cried Helen. Where are you? Mason, they're nowhere. What can we do? We have to save ourselves. Don't slow down, or they'll crush us. I can't leave Melissa here. We have to find them. Are you crazy? How will you find them now? The fire's getting closer and closer to the exit. It's gonna burn with all its might. If we don't get out in time, we'll burn alive. Is that what you want? What do we do? Melissa is a close friend of mine. What if they can't get out? Look at this. It's pandemonium. You know, honey, in a situation like this, it's every man for himself. She's not alone, Michael's with her. Maybe they're already outside. Don't stop, I'm begging you. Smearing soot-stained tears on her cheeks, Helen said. They had already gotten out. There must be an emergency exit where they were going. You're right, we should get out ourselves. With Melissa, Michael, she's not alone. Together they won't get lost. Hold on to me. It's only a little while, and we'll be out of here. If we try to go back into the hall now, we'll be swept away, trampled. We have to follow the crowd. Michael will be able to save Melissa. You better take care of yourself. Obeying the flood of people, the young men made their way out. Mason coughed as he breathed in the fresh air. They're gone, Mason. Looking around in horror, Helen exclaimed. They stayed there. They're going to die. What are we going to do? Why do you worry about them? The young man waved his hand. The main thing is that we got out. The firemen and ambulance have already arrived. They will save them. Now just wait and do not interfere. Calm down. Nothing can be changed. Don't punish yourself. Helen sobbed on the man's chest. They are there. Choking on her tears, she shouted. They are still there. Melissa, we should have at least tried to help them. Why? Why did you stop me? There was the sound of breaking glass. Flames burst from the windows. Black clouds of acrid smoke rising to the sky. Everybody get away from the building. A sonorous voice came through the megaphone. Those who need medical help, come to the ambulances. Step away from the doors. Don't block the way. Let the firemen work in peace. In front of frightened people, rescuers unfolded hoses and began to extinguish the fire. The victims were taken out of the room and sent straight to hospitals in the city. That's not her. Helen rushed like mad to one ambulance and another, hoping to find her friend. She's nowhere to be found. Do you realize she stayed there? I asked you to come back. We could have saved them. We wouldn't have saved them. Mason justified himself. How could we find them in the dark? And you were dead. Who would have been relieved? I'll never forgive myself for my cowardice. I wish I had died with them. What makes you think they're dead? They'll be found and rescued. Look, they're bringing out the living. Can't you see the fire raging inside? No one could survive in there. Jesus, how are we going to tell Robert that Melissa died? I dread to think what will happen to him. It's none of our business. Let the police handle it. Let's go home. I'm tired. I want to wash up and go to bed. You can't help them now. How can you think about it? Poor Melissa, to die just before the wedding. Why do we have to go to the club tonight? Please don't split up. The voice on the megaphone has come through again. It is necessary to clarify the number of injured and dead. If you can't find those who were with you at the club, please approach the police officers and give information about the missing. We have to do that. Helen pulled Mason with her. Do you have any idea what Robert's going through right now? He's waiting for Melissa to come home, and she's gone. We have to report her, at least this last little thing we have to do for them. You do as you wish, but I'm going to the police. The young men headed for the Temporary Information Collection Center. Finally, Mason managed to convince Helen to go home. Robert could not sleep a wink until morning. Anxiety was growing in his soul. Why had Melissa turned off the phone? He wondered. She should have been back long ago. What could have happened? Where to look for her now? Should Helen call? What if Melissa decided to stay the night? She didn't want to wake me up. With shaky hands, I dialed the girl's phone number, but her cell phone was unavailable. Where are they all? Should I call the police or wait? The man couldn't find a place. Time passed, and his beloved never appeared. He did not notice how tired of waiting he fell asleep. It seemed to him that he only closed his eyes for a second, and then he was startled by a sudden phone call. "Robert?" He heard an unfamiliar voice in the receiver. "Hello. I am compelled to inform you that your fiancée, Melissa, was killed in a nightclub fire. We're very sorry for your loss." "How did she die?" "A man stood in the middle of the room and couldn't move. This can't be happening. She can't be dead. We're about to get married." "What happened?" "You must have made a mistake. It's not her." "I'm sorry, but it's true. It was a tip from some friends she was out with that night." The electrical wiring in the club caught fire. The fire spread quickly. People panicked. Your fiancée couldn't get out of the room. Her buddies confirmed she was definitely there. You'll have to come down for a lineup. I know it's a difficult procedure, but we need your testimony." "I don't believe it." Stunned, staring at the blacked-out screen, Robert said, "She can't be dead. It's not true." "What about our wedding? No, it can't be. They were wrong. These people are definitely wrong. I'll go right now and prove it wasn't Melissa. She was just playing a joke." He fidgeted, getting ready. His head was buzzing, his thoughts jumbled. The man could hardly understand what was going on. Half an hour later, he was already standing in front of the medical examiner's office. After gathering his courage, he pulled the heavy door open. "It's good that they came at once." The pathologist looked sympathetically at Robert. "We'll get her back to you as soon as possible." "Maybe it's not my fiancée." Robert looked pleadingly at the man. "That's why we asked you here. You must be absolutely certain that this is your fiancée." "Ready? I'll get it. Do you need any help?" Robert shook his head negatively, pulled himself together, and looked at the body. Melissa's head was resting on the couch on top of a white sheet. Hair burned in places, no blood in her face. "Ah!" Robert groaned in pain, closed his eyes. His fingers clenched into a fist of their own accord. "Is this Melissa, your fiancée? Do you recognize her?" "Yes, that's her." The young man barely spoke. He refused to believe that Melissa, his adored Melissa, was lying immovably before him. Her face was a grimace of horror and pain. "My condolences." The pathologist was silent. "I think you should know that your fiancée was drunk, so she couldn't get off the premises. And also," he stopped talking again, "she was pregnant." "Pregnant how?" Robert was confused. "She didn't say anything." "Probably didn't have time." The lost young man headed for his car. He hardly realized what was happening. The most difficult ordeal lay ahead of him. All their friends and family had gathered for the funeral. Robert refused to believe that Melissa was gone. The farewell ceremony passed as if in a dream. Already at the wake, when almost everyone had left, Helen sat down with him. "Robert," the girl sympathetically squeezed his hand, "I'm sorry about what happened. I am to blame for Melissa's death." The young man did not hesitate to cry. "If I had persuaded her not to go to the club, she would still be alive. It was hard to change her mind about anything." Helen grinned sadly. She was a good friend. "And a bad bride." Mason remarked. "He was a little drunk. You didn't know everything about her. Friend, something she kept from you." "Don't you dare." The girl gave her buddy a warning look. "She's gone. Don't bring up the past. Let her remain in Robert's memory, cheerful, loving." "I will not hide the truth from him," Mason said stubbornly. "Robert, you must know I have no right to be silent. It is very hard for me to see you suffer. She was unworthy of your love. She is not a woman to suffer for. What are you saying? She was the best woman, tiredly objected the serene young man. And now she's gone. I can't imagine life without her. She was everything to me. I'm dead, crushed, ruined. I don't want to live. She wasn't faithful to you. There at the club, Melissa was with another man. She cheated on you all the time. She cheated on you just before the wedding. That fateful night, she was seeing another man. You're lying. Robert's eyes are bloodshot. You have no right to besmirch my fiancé's good name. She loved me. Melissa never cheated on me. Why? Why do you say such a disgusting thing? My poor girl. She can't even contradict you. Robert, calm down. Helen tried to stop him. And you shut up. She went after Mason. Can't you find another time for this kind of news? Can't you see the state he's in? You're hurting him. Let him find out now, and from us, the police will tell him anyway. Robert and Melissa died because she and Michael were drunk and making love somewhere in the back of the club. That's why they couldn't get out. When the lights went out, there was panic. We had no chance of finding them. You know, in a situation like this, it's better to move with the crowd, especially since we were expecting to see them on the street. I don't believe a word of it. Robert looked at Mason with unseeing eyes. Melissa couldn't cheat on me. I don't know why you're trying to defame her, but for God's sake, shut up. I don't want to hear this filth. You're lying. You've always been jealous of our love for her. Of course, this is the right moment to talk trash about my Melissa, but you won't succeed. Understand. I'll never believe she went behind my back to see another man. She was pregnant. We were going to have a baby. She didn't have time to tell me. How hard it is for me to know that I will never be able to kiss my beloved Melissa again, never hold our baby in my arms. I'm alone without her. I don't know why I'm still alive. It's not your baby. Helen said sadly. I'm sorry you're just finding out now. You too. Robert exclaimed sadly. She was your friend. She trusted you. How can you accuse her of cheating on you? Why would you want to besmirch Melissa's good name? I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I was hoping Melissa would tell you herself. So you knew. You knew she was cheating on me and encouraged them to see each other. You're 100 times worse than she is. That's your business. Helen objected. Did I have the right to judge Melissa? She promised to tell you everything and to stop seeing men. Why are you telling me all this now? Robert clenched his fists painfully, shakily stood up from the table. Get out of our house, he said softly, putting so much hatred into his voice that Helen and Mason recoiled in fear. I don't want to see you again ever. Forget my number. I have no more fiancé. I have no more friends. Remember, I didn't believe you. My Melissa was pure and honest and loved me. No matter what you say about her, you can't convince me otherwise. You shouldn't do that. Helen quickly got out from behind the desk and made Mason get up. I thought you needed to know the truth. And you asked me if I wanted to know it now. He slumped heavily in his chair, clutched his head, and froze, consumed with grief. Robert, we understand you're not yourself and we don't take offense. If you need help, know that we're always here for you. Mason put a hand on his shoulder and squeezed it, but Robert remained immovable. Son, his mother came over to him. What's wrong? Why did your friends leave? Leave me alone, Mom. Deeply, said the young man. I want to be alone. I understand, son. It's very scary to lose the one you love. She was so young, so beautiful. I sympathize with you very much. If I could do anything to ease your suffering, tell me. I'll do everything. Don't shut yourself in. Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. You'll feel much better." Clara stroked her son's head sympathetically. Robert jerked as if he had been hit. He dropped his head in his arms and sobbed, his heart broken. Melissa's smiling face stood before his eyes. She was so beautiful and unattainable. The man clutched the tablecloth with his hands and yanked it sharply towards him. There was a clinking sound of breaking dishes. Those gathered at the wake looked at him with horror, but no one dared to make a remark. Everyone understood how hard it was for him to bear the loss of his beloved bride. "Son, we have wonderful news for you," Clara announced at dinner. "We are going on a sea cruise. The tickets are in our pocket." "Congratulations," Robert responded indifferently. "Have a good vacation." "You don't understand, son," William added cheerfully. "We're all going together. It's been so long since we've been on a family vacation, and it's all worked out so well. What do you need me for?" "Come, I don't want to disturb you, and I'll work in peace and quiet." "What do you mean, why?" "It'll take your mind off things. Look what you've become like, a real recluse. The sea air will be good for your health. How many times can you give in to grief? Life doesn't stand still. I'm healthy, Mother, and I don't want to go anywhere. My life suits me just fine. What have I done to you? Physically, you may be healthy, but your mental state needs a jolt. You just need to change from office to quarters for a while. You'll see a whole new lease on life. Imagine 2 weeks of complete relaxation. Nothing to think about. I checked. There are excursions planned along the way, concerts, entertainment. Anyway, you can't take no for an answer. It's about time you started going out. I have no desire to go out. You go ahead and I'll stay home. You'll get a break from me, and I'll get a break from you. How can you accuse her of cheating on you? Why would you want to besmirch Melissa's good name? I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I was hoping Melissa would tell you herself. So you knew. You knew she was cheating on me and encouraged them to see each other. You're 100 times worse than she is. That's your business." Helen objected. "Did I have the right to judge Melissa? She promised to tell you everything and to stop seeing men." "Why are you telling me all this now?" Robert clenched his fists painfully, shakily stood up from the table. "Get out of our house," he said softly, putting so much hatred into his voice that Helen and Mason recoiled in fear. "I don't want to see you again, ever. Forget my number. I have no more fiancé. I have no more friends. Remember, I didn't believe you. My Melissa was pure and honest and loved me. No matter what you say about her, you can't convince me otherwise. You shouldn't do that." Helen quickly got out from behind the desk and made Mason get up. "I thought you needed to know the truth, and you asked me if I wanted to know it now." He slumped heavily in his chair, clutched his head, and froze, consumed with grief. "Robert, we understand you're not yourself, and we don't take offense. If you need help, know that we're always here for you." Mason put a hand on his shoulder and squeezed it, but Robert remained immovable. "Son," his mother came over to him. "What's wrong? Why did your friends leave?" "Leave me alone, Mom," deeply said the young man. "I want to be alone." "I understand, son. It's very scary to lose the one you love. She was so young, so beautiful. I sympathize with you very much. If I can do anything to ease your suffering, tell me. I'll do everything. Don't shut yourself in. Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. You'll feel much better." Clara stroked her son's head sympathetically. Robert jerked as if he had been hit. He dropped his head in his arms and sobbed, his heart broken. Melissa's smiling face stood before his eyes. She was so beautiful and unattainable. The man clutched the tablecloth with his hands and yanked it sharply towards him. There was a clinking sound of breaking dishes. Those gathered at the wake looked at him with horror, but no one dared to make a remark. Everyone understood how hard it was for him to bear the loss of his beloved bride. "Son, we have wonderful news for you," Clara announced at dinner. "We are going on a sea cruise. The tickets are in our pocket." "Congratulations!" Robert responded indifferently. "Have a good vacation." "You don't understand, son," William added cheerfully. "We're all going together. It's been so long since we've been on a family vacation, and it's all worked out so well. What do you need me for?" "Come, I don't want to disturb you, and I'll work in peace and quiet." "What do you mean, why?" "It'll take your mind off things. Look what you've become like. A real recluse. The sea air will be good for your health. How many times can you give in to grief?" "Life doesn't stand still. I'm healthy, Mother, and I don't want to go anywhere. My life suits me just fine. What have I done to you?" "Physically, you may be healthy, but your mental state needs a jolt. You just need to change from office to quarters for a while. You'll see a whole new lease on life. Imagine 2 weeks of complete relaxation. Nothing to think about. I checked. There are excursions planned along the way, concerts, entertainment. Anyway, you can't take no for an answer. It's about time you started going out. I have no desire to go out. You go ahead and I'll stay home. You'll get a break from me, and I'll get a break from you." "Son, I realize the pain of loss is still fresh, but it's been a year since Melissa died. You can't keep to yourself. Hasn't the discovery of her death made you forget about her? Is she the kind of woman you should suffer so much for? I don't believe you've forgiven her yet." "Yes, Mother. If she were still alive, I'd forgive her for everything." "Jesus, Robert, you can't be so sad. Melissa's gone, but you're a living person. Life didn't end with her death. I'm sure you'll meet another good girl, and you'll love her. You deserve to be happy, and happiness walks after you. It's only worth a good look. What are you up to, Mom? Are you up to your old tricks again? Who is it this time?" "I'm not going to meet anyone. I'm sick and tired of your indomitable desire to marry me. Leave me alone for a while. Son, you're still young. You can't behave like a monk. Of course, I like that you're giving your all to your work. I'm glad that this zeal has had a positive effect on your career, but you can't do that. We want to see you happy again, and you're burying yourself alive. Yeah, and you've set your sights on marrying me. I thought you were kidding about the matchmaking. What kind of joke is that? You're a man, you're the next of kin. Look around you, you're surrounded by so many beautiful girls. Among the string of my potential brides, whom you invented to invite regularly to our house, I have not met a single one who could overshadow in my heart the image of Melissa. Incidentally, they all agreed that they wanted nothing to do with me. I'm glad they realize that now, and not at the wedding you would have surely played for us. Don't you ever think of giving me your consent to marry you. You are insufferable," Mother exclaimed in her heart. "No woman will not tolerate to be compared with another, especially with the one who is no longer alive. And my father and I just dream of marrying you. Oh, what beauties have been in our house. If I were younger," William smiled dreamily, "it's not about you, it's about our son." His mother sternly reprimanded him. "We didn't tell you that Jennifer is traveling with us, along with her parents. I think this girl is attracted to you. At least she didn't refuse to keep us company." "Why?" Father remarked enthusiastically. "It's not a bad option. She's a docile, quiet girl, and she'll make a good wife. With your character, you cannot choose. Too docile, or rather indifferent to everything." Robert sighed. "I don't think she cares whether I propose or not. I'm sure you're wrong. We parents are looking forward to you getting married. It'll be very romantic if you're on the boat, proposing to her, huh? Son, think about it. Jennifer's a very nice girl. You take a good look at her. Of course, she loses out to Melissa in looks. She was too flamboyant, too flashy, too gorgeous, too vampy, and Jennifer's different. But maybe that's the safe haven you need right now. Maybe your heartbreak will heal with her around. I'm not going to marry anyone. I don't understand why all this is happening. I'm fine on my own. I hardly know this Jennifer of yours. I don't know her, but she's a very quiet woman. Who knows what she's up to? You'll have a good chance to get to know her on the boat. Son, I can see you like her too. Don't make it up, Mom. I hardly recognize her in a crowd. And you can't get to know a person properly in 2 weeks. Let's not guess. Let's take a trip and see what happens. Don't deny it. You'll have to think about marriage and a bride sometime. Let it be Jennifer. Son, William put a hand on his shoulder. We're not forever, and we need to know that you won't be alone. We still have grandchildren to look forward to. And look at the girl. She's the right one, and she won't betray you, not like your Melissa. Father. Clara looked at him reproachfully. Don't hurt the wound. And you, Robert, think carefully before you refuse. All right, have it your way. The young man waved his hand. Well done. That's a good girl. You'll thank us at the end of the trip. A week later, Robert stood on the deck of a pleasure boat and watched the shore moving away. Robert, entering the cabin, demanded his mother. Let's go to dinner. Stop staring at your laptop. Jennifer's parents invited us. I really hope that if not today, then tomorrow you will surely propose to her. Mom? Robert begged, leave me alone. Here I am, sitting in my cabin, not touching anyone working. If you want this wedding so badly, make your own arrangements. I don't want any part of it. You've already made up your mind without my involvement. Keep doing what you're doing. One thing I can promise, if I can't avoid the wedding, I'll try to attend it in person. You're joking already. That's a good sign. It means recovery is just around the corner. My boy will take care of the wedding preparations, you bet. But the marriage proposal will have to be yours. Quit your job. We're waiting for you at the restaurant. Okay, Mom. My son sighed. I'll be there as long as it's over quickly. Good for you. True, everything is just beginning, but this is already details. I will not scare you. Promise me you won't take too long to propose. Clara walked away, leaving Robert in deep thought. He didn't want to go anywhere, but he realized that he couldn't avoid the dinners together. Without desire, Robert packed up and went to the meeting. The young people were assembled. The parents greeted him with cheers of joy. We never thought we'd see you today. Look how much fun. William nodded his head toward the deck, where the passengers were dancing. The organizers were holding some kind of contest. Jack and I have decided to join the dancing group. Our ladies refuse, and we're not going to sit still. Right, Jack? That's right. Jennifer's father agreed. But are we here to eat or sleep? We've got to have fun. Why don't we leave the young people alone? Suggested Doris, Jennifer's mom. And we'll have some old times' sake. The young people were left alone. Jennifer was staring off into the distance. Jennifer? Robert spoke. How do you feel about our parents wanting us to get married? I don't know, she shrugged. I'm going to have to get married someday anyway. Why not do it now? Your candidacy suits me fine. You saying that as if it doesn't matter to you who will be your husband. Why not? I'm not that cynical. You're really not the worst option. So you'd be willing to be my wife. Why not? She shrugged her thin shoulders again. Robert was surprised that Jennifer didn't try to make him feel comfortable. She didn't look at him at all, turning her brown eyes away from him. Outwardly, she seemed very calm, but her inner tension was revealed only by her fingers tightly locked together, the occasional twitching of her lips, and a pale face that had not a speck of blood on it. "Don't you want to know how I feel about you?" "Why should I? If even we are to be married, playing a couple in love is not at all necessary. Family life is stronger when it's built on mutual respect. Passion will fade over the years, but respect will remain. Isn't that right?" Meanwhile, the parents are back. "Oh, the kids." Trying to regain her breath, Clara said, "You should have come with us, the host of the evening, a real professional." "Exactly." Doris supported her. "I've never been in such contests. I'm tired of laughing." "And Jack and I," William remarked, "had a great time dancing. It's been a long time since I've had such a good time at a disco. I remember being a daredevil in my youth. Even now, you're a young man's man, too." The wife laughed. "If you don't mind." Robert got up from his chair. "I'll go to my room. I've had enough impressions for today. Good night." He was escorted away in silence. "Jennifer," Doris asked anxiously, "what happened between you two? Did he hurt you?" "And we had hoped that everything had worked out," Clara said disappointedly. "Nothing like you were expecting. We just talked for a while. And I think I'll leave you too." In the morning, everyone gathered for breakfast. The parents were discussing last night's party, and the young people were silent. "Parents," Robert spoke, "I realize that you are expecting Jennifer and me to make a very important decision for both families." He took a small box out of his pocket and opened it. "Jennifer, marry me." "Robert." The mother gasped. She looked at Doris with moist eyes. Had it really come to pass? "Son, how happy we are all for you." How I longed for my little girl to find happiness. Doris opened her arms towards Clara. Both women hugged each other warmly, and the men shook hands. But Jennifer said nothing to me. Robert inquisitively looked at the girl. "I agree." In a colorless voice, she answered, "Kids, my God, we're going to have such a wedding now." The parents laughed, congratulating each other. Fathers hugged Robert, mothers kissed their children and each other. "Oh, what a life we'll have now." Robert and Jennifer watched in silence as their parents rejoiced for them. "Doris," Clara looked worriedly at her future sister-in-law, "we're not going to put the wedding on hold, are we?" "Of course," she agreed. "There's nothing to think about. We should immediately start preparing for the wedding. The proverbial 3 months will not wait. I think a month is enough to send out invitations and book tables in the restaurant." The young people watched the scene blankly. It seemed to Robert that Jennifer was not interested in the wedding. She didn't take part in the conversation between the parents. She was thinking somewhere far away from the boat. "Jennifer?" Her mother addressed her. "What kind of dress would you like for the wedding?" "I just ordered a catalog, and there's such a good selection to choose from." "I don't know." The girl shrugged indifferently. "What's the difference? You can do without a dress. Buy an ordinary one. What's the use of this dress? It will be dusty somewhere in the attic." "You're wrong, daughter. A dress is a symbol of family prosperity. Show it to your daughter later." "Well, pick one for me. Whichever one you think suits me, I'll wear." "You know, Mom, I don't know about fashion. I rely on your taste." "That's what we'll do." Doris rejoiced, and with enthusiasm, began to discuss with Clara the style of the bride's dress. "To tell you the truth, I've already looked at something, even taken a photo. Can you tell me which one would suit my daughter better?" "Why did she agree to marry me?" perplexed Robert, watching the new bride. It's clear to the naked eye that she has no feelings for me. Usually girls are happy to propose marriage, and this one, it seems that and just lazy was just lazy to refuse me. What if? Suddenly a hunch struck him. Behind the ostensible indifference she hides fear. But what could she be afraid of? It's strange, and Jennifer's acting strange. But I don't like the whole wedding thing either, and in that we're alike. He grinned sadly. At least we have something in common. I'm sorry. He got up from the table. I'm a little tired. I'll go to my quarters and do a little work for the night. But how could you, son? The mother was confused. I think you should do the wedding preparations too. It's your party after all. We should think about who to take as a witness. Mommy, he kissed her gently on the cheek. I'm sure you'll do just fine without me. And you'll do the wedding in the best possible way. I trust you completely. You can appoint your own witnesses. I won't have any objections. The parents looked at each other in silence, but did not object. In the morning, Clara walked resolutely into her son's cabin. Robert, you're being disgusting, she declared from the doorstep. Intelligent people do not behave like this. You are disrespecting not only our parents, but also your fiancé. What happened this time? Sighing heavily, the young man regretfully broke away from his work. I think I did everything you wanted me to do. Can I be alone for a while? I have some urgent work to do. Your work can wait, but your fiancé can't wait. How can you sit here when Jennifer's bored out on the deck? You didn't show up for breakfast. You're sitting there like an owl. You've got your head full of work. We said we were going on vacation. What do you need me for? You're all having a good time without me. What do you want from me? I don't interfere with anyone. I agree with everything. I'm decent. Are you putting a price on yourself? Have you forgotten how to woo a girl? You're a young man. Don't you want to flirt a little? Mom, in your scenario of my marriage, there was no wooing of the bride. I did more than that. I asked you to marry me. Are you kidding me? The woman was offended. We arrange your personal life, and you ungrateful, laughing at us. I didn't expect it. All my heart ached for you so shortly, and to heart attack to live, and he still laughs. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Robert jokingly put his hands in the air. I give up. You can't resist such ironclad arguments. I'll be on deck in a few minutes. Believe me, I'm very grateful to you and Dad for taking care of me. In case you haven't noticed, I'm all grown up and I'm not jumping up and down on one leg. I still love you parents. Oh, son, what has this tragedy done to you? Even the humor turned black. The mother left, shaking her head. The young man quickly changed his clothes. What am I going to talk to Jennifer about? He thought, she shows no interest in me. Does she want this wedding or not? I don't know how to start a conversation. Okay, I'll figure it out on the spot. I'll see if I can get her to like me. She doesn't seem very talkative. Jennifer, her parents, and Robert's parents are all seated in cozy chairs on the deck. Jennifer? Doris cheered. Here comes Robert. Take a walk. It's a beautiful morning. You'll be distracted. It will do you both good. Jennifer was silent, put down the book she was reading, and stood up. Do you mind going for a walk? Asked the young man. The girl nodded silently. They walked along the deck of the motor ship. The wind was developing Jennifer's dark hair. She tossed it back every now and then. I see. Robert was the first to speak, when they were far enough away from their parents. You're not thrilled about the idea of getting married either, are you? I should warn you right away. Without waiting for an answer, the young man continued. I don't love you. My heart is still in love with Melissa, and I'm not going to change my attitude toward life anytime soon. I only agreed to the wedding for my parents. You're the least of the evils my parents offered me in the form of a string of suitors for my heart. If that's the kind of relationship you're comfortable with, I'm fine with it, Jennifer said quietly, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. You're the candidate, is it? Robert was surprised. Yeah. Jennifer agreed. I'm sick of my parents, too. I know you're indifferent to me, so you won't qualify for anything. In turn, I won't bother you with my problems either. We'll live our lives as we used to. We'll have a perfect family. Almost nothing will change except the stamp in the passport. You spend most of your time at work. I'll also work, but I promise to be able to create a home cozy. I'm a good cook, by the way. I don't need money for maintenance. I earn good money myself. But why do you need me? He couldn't understand how she could be so calculating. You can meet true love and find your happiness, and if it happens after our marriage, and you meet a man you love with all your heart, we'll have to divorce. I'm fine with that. Jennifer shrugged. Don't worry, I won't be interested in anyone else. I know how to be faithful. You won't have to fight off my suitors. I promise you that. So you're marrying me on purpose? If that's what you think, then that's what it is. Explain it to me. Robert grabbed Jennifer's arm and turned her around. Why do you agree with everything? It's my nature. She didn't even try to get out of his arms. She just squirmed, not knowing what to expect from her fiancé. I'm used to agreeing to everything, and I like solitude as much as you do. That's why we'll be good together. We won't interfere with each other. But that's not right. Robert shook her gently, trying to meet her gaze, but she avoided looking at him. You're young, you're beautiful, you must dream of love. All girls think about it sooner or later. You're hurting me. The young man loosened his grip. Jennifer freed himself from his arms. Let's just stand and look at the sea, shall we? See. She stretched her hand out into the distance. Dolphins always dreamed of seeing them. They stood in silence for a long time, looking at the sea. Already in the evening, alone in the cabin, Robert could not sleep. The conversation with Jennifer did not go out of his head. She was strange, he thought, lying with his eyes open. She wasn't interested in what her parents had come up with for the wedding. She didn't ask what guests would be there. She didn't even argue with the candidate of the witness. For the first time I see such a girl. Why does she behave like this? What is she hiding? Jennifer intrigued him more and more. On the third day, in the evening, he himself invited her to go out. Her parents looked at each other meaningfully, smiling happily. You don't have to study me at all. Jennifer remarked, I feel fine with a book in my hands. We don't owe each other anything. It's a lovely evening. I don't feel like sitting in the cabin. Robert was quiet for a while. I've been meaning to ask you for a long time, but I've never had the chance. I remember you and Melissa were good friends. You know the truth, don't you? I know some things, of course, but I'd like to hear Melissa's story from you. I suddenly realized I could trust you. Tell me everything you know about her. I don't know anything, she protested. She didn't tell me much, and we weren't really close friends. She liked to have fun, and I preferred to spend my evenings at home and work a lot. I think you do. Robert insisted, but you don't want to tell me so as not to upset me. I really need to know the truth. This year I lived as if in a dream. I didn't want to see or hear anyone. I experienced everything in myself. I tried to forget and could not accept the loss and the fact that Melissa was not alone on that tragic day. I didn't want to believe that she was lying to me. I didn't want to talk about it. Jennifer had withdrawn into herself again, withdrawn as if she had hung a barn lock on the door of her soul. Robert groaned with frustration, slammed his fist against the rail of the boat. Of course, it was rolling around in his head. She won't say anything, she'll keep quiet, and I'll never know anything. How hard is it to live in ignorance? But she surprised him. I know. Jennifer suddenly spoke. But Melissa has been gone for a year and a half. It's all in the past. Why reopen it? I need to know the truth. I beg you, tell me everything you know. I don't think you'll like what you're asking me. I don't think it will make you feel any better. And then she got quiet. After what you hear, I don't think you and I are going to work out. But why? If you were in my shoes, wouldn't you want to know the truth? He asked. I suppose I would at first, but then, now I'd give anything not to know. You don't know what you're asking me to do. Jennifer, please. Robert begged. Don't bore my soul. There hasn't been a day that I haven't thought about Melissa. I still can't believe she cheated on me. Somehow I trust you, and I know that you won't lie to me, that you'll tell me the truth. Even if I don't like the truth, I have to know it. No. Jennifer suddenly stood up. Not now. I'm tired and I want to go to my room. Don't torture me with questions. It's hard for me to remember. Jennifer, imagine how I've lived these last year and a half. I wake up thinking about why she went to the club that night. Who was that man? What attracted her to him? I fall asleep and torture myself with thoughts that I too am to blame for her death. Maybe I said or did something wrong. And I'm tired as hell, torturing my heart with questions, with no hope of an answer. If you can explain what was going on behind my back, help me. I'd do anything for you to get answers to my questions. Jennifer, I swear to you that nothing will change between us. Unfortunately, my confession will change everything. The girl looked at him sadly. Are you hoping I'll tell you the truth and it will ease your pain? I assure you it won't. Is it really that important to know whether Melissa cheated on you or not? Robert nodded silently, his gaze fixed on Jennifer. Yes, she was. Is that what you wanted to hear? With this guy who found her, or with someone else? I don't know. I don't know anything about him at all. Does that make you feel better? No. I guess it just got worse. I warned you, the truth doesn't make you feel better. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go to my room. Enough revelations for today. The girl left quickly. Robert locked himself in his quarters and spent the rest of the day alone. How strange, he pondered as he lay in bed. The news that Melissa wasn't faithful to me doesn't hurt so much anymore. I guess I've just gotten used to the idea. I'm much more interested in something else now. If Jennifer knew about Melissa's cheating, who else knew about it? Did it turn out like that anecdote? Everyone knew about the wife's cheating except the cheating husband. And if everyone knew, why didn't anyone open up to me about it? Jennifer knew and didn't say a word. What could I possibly have a beef with her? She and I barely knew each other at the time, and she preferred not to talk to anyone. She always kept to herself. But we had a lot of friends in common with Melissa, and no one said anything. Even my best friend, who talked to her a lot, didn't say a word. So what do I want from Jennifer? Jennifer. Robert smiled involuntarily. I've been thinking about her a lot lately. He pictured her touching smile, the sadness in her brown eyes, her fragile figure. It had been a burden to her to know that Melissa was deceiving me. How did she carry it all inside her? I wonder if Jennifer shared Melissa's secrets with anyone. No, it wasn't like her. She wasn't the chatty type. Robert closed his eyes and tried to sleep. Then he opened his eyes abruptly. No, I can't sleep. He sat up in bed. I'm going to go to Jennifer and make her finally tell me everything. What's the use of putting off an explanation? It's better to find out right away, to dot the I's and cross the T's. I can't wait till morning. So what time is it? He turned on the light and glanced at the clock. It's 2:00 in the morning. She's asleep, of course, but I can't wait till morning. I have to ask her now. She must understand me. Robert dressed hastily and tiptoed to Jennifer's cabin. He stopped in front of the door and listened. It was quiet. "Jennifer?" The young man spoke in a loud whisper and knocked gently on the cabin door. "Jennifer, please open the door. Don't be afraid, it's Robert. I need to talk to you right away." Robert listened again. The door was silent. He knocked more insistently. Suddenly, the lock clicked and the door opened. "What are you doing here?" Squinting against the bright light, the frightened girl asked, "Did you see what time it was? Why the hell are you breaking in the middle of the night? Are you awake too?" he asked, noticing her tear-stained eyes. "What business is it of yours? What do you need? Didn't your parents explain to you as a child that it's unseemly to pry into an unmarried girl's room at night? I don't want to get sentimental. We need to talk urgently," shortly answered the young man. "Let me go. I don't want to be caught at this late hour." "Come in." The girl opened the door, wrapped in a silk robe. She immediately climbed into bed and covered herself up to her chin with a blanket and pointed to a chair in the corner of the cabin, a decent distance away from her. "Is she afraid of me?" Robert wondered, noticing that Jennifer was trying to stay away from him. "So what do you want from me?" "Jennifer, I am neither a psychologist nor a physiognomist, but I immediately realized that besides cheating on Melissa, you are hiding some other secret. I want to know about it. Have you revealed it to anyone else?" Tears ran down the girl's face. "Don't cry, please." The man moved to the bed, took her hand in his. She squirmed, but didn't remove her hand. "Tell the truth. It will make you feel better. I can see something's bothering you. You and I will soon be husband and wife, and I don't want any misunderstandings between us. Don't be afraid to tell me. Believe me, nothing will change between us." "I can't," Jennifer whispered, swallowing her tears. "I just can't. You have no idea how much this will change everything. Jennifer, I promise. Everything I hear will stay forever within the walls of this cabin. No matter how much I feel hurt by your words, I swear I will not retaliate. If you fear I will retaliate for the truth about Melissa, that includes her, does it not? Am I wrong? I just want to make you feel a little better. This secret's gonna kill you. You need to tell someone. Look at me." He made her look up at him. "You can trust me, okay? Believe me, I'm not your enemy. You don't know what you're asking, so tell me. I want to know the truth, okay? I don't want to be an ostrich with my head in the sand. I've lived like that for the last year. It's time to let go of the weight of my heart. I'm tired." He was so convincing that Jennifer couldn't stand it anymore, she spoke up. "You're right in saying that Melissa and I were friends. Not just friends, classmates. Sisters, perhaps, even, because we were so close. We did homework together, often spent the night at each other's houses, like best friends should." Jennifer didn't look at Robert. She was concentrating on the blanket, which gave away her inner turmoil. "I loved her and trusted her immensely. She seemed to love me too. I admired her courage, her looseness, and I wanted to be like her. She drove the boys crazy and told me about her affairs. I envied her because I was afraid to even look in a boy's direction. Yes, we were close, though very different." The girl sobbed, and the young man took her hands in his soothingly. "Jennifer," Melissa stretched sweetly, pulling away from her textbook. It won't be long now before we finally graduate. 11 years had flown by so quickly, they haven't flown by yet. That's reasonable, Jennifer remarked. You're as stupid as your mother. Guess who my adoring wife will believe? Jennifer sat silently with her head bowed. Every word her father said hurt her. What did you think, daughter? War is war. If you keep quiet, everything will stay the same. And if you don't, but you've already realized what awaits you and your mother, you think I'm kidding? Be thankful I'm not going to divorce her, even though I'm sick to death of her. One more thing. Now that you know everything, Melissa will live with us while your mother's away on business, and God forbid you do anything to reproach her. It's my decision. If you don't like it, get out of my house. I've put up with both of you for too long already. Darling, suddenly they heard the purring voice of Melissa, and both of them shuddered. How much longer are you going to deal with your daughter? I missed you. The girl was in a pink, semi-transparent pajuara, which did not hide the appetizing forms of the seductress. On the contrary, attracted the man's gaze, igniting his desire. We're done now, aren't we, Jennifer? Without embarrassing his daughter, Jack kissed his mistress passionately. Good night, daughter. Remember my words. Jack gently placed his hand on the round buttock of the beauty, squeezed it. Melissa shrieked merrily. The man kissed her again. Finally they left. Jennifer sat still, only flinched when the bedroom door slammed shut. Robert swallowed nervously, squeezed Jennifer's hand, which he never released from his grasp. Tears fell down Robert's arm. He realized how much pain every word was causing Jennifer, gently pulled her against him. If it's hard for you to talk now, let's postpone the conversation until tomorrow. The young man suggested, I have already regretted 10 times that I woke you up. No, she recoiled from him. I've been carrying all this inside me for too long. I have to get free or my heart will be torn to shreds. She took a breath and spoke again. I was so scared. I was afraid to confess to my mom because I was afraid my dad would carry out his threats and we would be left on the streets. And then I knew that Mom really loved him very much. I did not want to interfere in their relationship, did not want to destroy my mom's illusions, happy family life. The girl was silent for a long time. Am I a coward? She quickly glanced at the young man. Are you judging me? Of course not. He stroked her hand. She withdrew into herself again for a long time. What happened then? Robert asked quietly to bring Jennifer out of her deep thoughts, and then the nightmare began. Every time Mom went away on a business trip, Melissa came to spend the night. They didn't have to hide anymore. As soon as my dad got home from work, Melissa would show up. They'd stay in the bedroom until morning. They didn't notice me, like I was nothing. I didn't talk to my father much. I didn't leave my room much at all. They enjoyed each other's company. And you, how did you put up with all this? What could I do? I went to my room and had to watch in silence as my father openly cheated on my mother with my best friend. And you never spoke to your father again. Didn't try to talk some sense into him. It was like he'd lost his mind. Jennifer said slowly, You know I feared him and hated him. With Melissa in his life, he became a total stranger to me. And now too, Melissa is gone, but the fear, it's still there. I live under a sword of Damocles, a sense of danger that won't let go. My father keeps his guard up. I try not to be alone with him. Sometimes he'll look at me like that, like an X-ray, and he'll see everything I'm thinking. How long has this been going on? Robert asked. Did they see each other for a long time? Fortunately, if I may say so, not very long. Melissa got pregnant. I don't know why, but she didn't tell her parents who the father was. They decided she was going to have the baby, and while it wasn't too noticeable yet, took her to another city. My daddy was only glad. Apparently he was fed up with her, or maybe he was afraid of the responsibility. Because if Melissa talked, he'd have to come clean. He was aware of the consequences. Jennifer was silent. What happened next? I don't know. The girl answered. The school year ended. Melissa didn't come back. I went to university, and I chose a different city to study in, so that I could live away from my father and not meet Melissa. Then I got a job there. I didn't plan on coming home at all, ever. It was hard for me to see my mom, who continued to admire my husband. I hated seeing my father. I wanted to forget everything. And yet you came back. It just happened. Jennifer furrowed her brow tensely. My job had been downsized, and I had been fired first, even though I'd had no complaints. And I've worked longer than most people. My mom says I'm shy. First we have to pass our exams. Then we can say goodbye to school. Hey friend, can I sleep over tonight? What's wrong? This is the third night in a row you've stayed over. I'm not sorry, of course, especially since Mom's away on business again, but it's still weird. Why don't we sleep at your place? I'm sick of my dad's remarks about what I didn't do. He'll always find something to pick on. Our parents are in trouble again. Melissa wrinkled her nose. I don't want to stay at home and listen to their quarrels. They always share something, and I get hit, as if it's my fault that they got married and gave birth to me. Okay, stay. Jennifer agreed. You'll help at home. We'll manage everything together, and it's more fun together. In the evening, the friends talked for a long time and fell asleep late. Jennifer was awakened in the middle of the night by a vague feeling of unease. Melissa? She whispered into the darkness. She reached out her hand and realized that the girl was not beside her. Melissa, where are you? Jennifer sat up in bed, listening. A minute passed, another. Her friend did not appear. Where had she gone? Getting up, Jennifer muttered. Did she get lost? Is she stuck in the toilet? Yawning, she walked to the kitchen, slapping the floor with her bare feet. Strange, it's dark everywhere. There's definitely no one in the bathroom and no one in the kitchen. Pushed by a vague premonition, she cautiously opened the door to her parents' bedroom. Melissa. Involuntarily shrieked Jennifer, caught with horror. On the bed in an embrace lay naked Melissa and her father. Dad, how could you? The father, as if stung, jumped up in bed, quickly threw a blanket over the girl lying next to him, with the same speed put on his underpants and rushed to his daughter. What the hell are you doing in the bedroom? How many times have I told you not to come in without permission? He hissed angrily, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her into the kitchen. He pushed the confused Jennifer into a chair, turned on the light, and fixed his eyes on her face. Remember, you saw nothing. The girl listened to her father, and it seemed to her that in front of her was not her favorite father, but some furious monster with rabid eyes. Try to tell your mother what you saw. I'll destroy you both. Dad, how could you? She's my classmate. Jennifer's lips trembled and tears rolled down her cheeks, covering her eyes, but she didn't wipe them away, afraid to move, lest she anger her angry father even more. The skin on her head burned, but the girl endured. Resentment rising in her heart, Jennifer didn't know how to behave after everything that had happened. What about Mom? Mom? Dad laughed. Your mom doesn't get out on business trips, and I'm a man. I need a woman every day, not once in a while. And the fact that Melissa is young? He hesitated, trying to find the right words. That's the good thing about her. She gives me something I've never gotten from your mother in my life. You have to tell your mother everything yourself, or I will. I'm not gonna let you cheat on her. You can't do something so mean to her. Don't you dare." The father advanced threateningly toward his daughter. "And I won't let you hurt her. Mom will kick you out of the house. I'm the one who will kick you out because the apartment is mine. So think before you open your mouth, and your mother won't believe you. She loves me too much, that silly goose, but I'll do everything I can to turn her against you. Believe me, I'll convince her you're lying about me. Mommy won't believe you." Jennifer sobbed, not very confidently. "To the bosses need toothy, self-aware workers, and I could not defend myself." "So what? You couldn't find a new job?" "I couldn't get a job quickly. I needed something to live on and something to pay the rent. And then my mom started calling me every day and urging me to come back because she missed me so much." "So you came back?" "Yeah, I was weak again. I let my emotions get in the way." "You don't regret coming back?" "Of course I do. I felt like a sheep to the slaughter, and I couldn't change anything." "You're like a snail, always in a shell." "That's true. I wasn't very good at showing my feelings before, and I'm not so good at it now. When I'm with my father, I get lost. I can't say a word. It's like I'm paralyzed. At such moments, I see myself again as a 17-year-old girl, intimidated by my father in the kitchen. I can even still physically feel the pain I felt when he dragged me out of the bedroom. Also, it took me a long time to get rid of the mocking look Melissa always gave me as she walked out of my parents' bedroom in the mornings. If someone else had told me that story, I never would have believed it. Robert spoke thoughtfully. "I've been watching your family. Your father is very good to you, and I never thought he could be cruel." "Oh, yes," said the girl, grinning. "Sometimes I think I'm crazy, that all my fears are a figment of my imagination. Father acts as if nothing had ever happened. He's back to the kind and caring father I knew him to be before I met Melissa, and his love affairs are just something I made up. I almost believed I was imagining it myself, until one day Melissa came home. So she was out of town the whole time. Yeah, I didn't know anything about her all those years. I cut all ties with her after high school. I didn't realize I'd have to see her again. She came back a couple of years after I did. I was sure my father wouldn't see her again. And for a while Melissa had fun with other men, changing them like gloves, easily breaking hearts, manipulating the feelings of fans in love. I watched her from afar, hoping that she would leave my family alone forever, waiting for her to finally marry and settle down. Only I was wrong, naively believing that Melissa was thus seeking her feminine happiness. She wanted to make my father jealous. And did he succumb to her charms again? Not at first. I was glad she no longer had power over him. I believed that my father was cured of his morbid attachment to her. And then Melissa met you." Jennifer glanced quickly at Robert and hid her eyes again. "You were such a beautiful couple, and I had a hope in my heart that Melissa had finally found her womanhood. She looked truly in love. I had already decided she was settling down. All that was before you met her was meaningless youthful fun. Family life must be a lot to live up to. I thought she loved me too. I never doubted my feeling for her. I'd tear anyone's throat out for her. And like all lovers," Jennifer smiled sympathetically, "hadn't you noticed that Melissa is not what you thought she was, enchanted by her beauty and intelligence? You can't take that away from her. My father didn't mind Melissa's slight infatuations. He realized that she was deliberately trying to hurt his feelings and make him jealous. Both she and he knew what was going on. The rest of us were completely unaware that a love affair was unfolding in front of everyone's eyes. But with you, Melissa was about to get married. He realized that Melissa would soon be out of his reach, and forbidden fruit is always sweet. So Dad had another affair with her, which is exactly what your fiancé was counting on. How hard it must have been for you to see all that and not be able to stop. You're right. I couldn't bear to see my father and my girlfriend, and I felt sorry for my mother. She had no idea what was going on behind her back. They both stopped talking. Did you know Melissa was pregnant? Robert asked suddenly. Unfortunately, yes. She sat with her head down again, her voice low and sympathetic. I only found out by accident, and after Melissa was dead. The girl fell silent. It was hard for her to speak. Jennifer woke up early, habitually shaved her way to the kitchen to make her parents' breakfast. She was stopped by her father's muffled voice coming from the kitchen. "What are you going to do? Raise me?" Jack said irritably into the phone. "It's too late. I'm a big boy, but don't tell me that you've never had a mistress." The girl froze, realizing that it was Melissa, although her father had not mentioned any names. "There, you don't need to conscience me at all. I understand perfectly well. There's nothing to worry about. I assure you, I'm not going to marry her." "Yeah, well, that's just the way it is. Could you have held out?" "Neither could I. Don't you know how these things are done? For money, any midwife will do the best." Jennifer went cold. Melissa is pregnant? The father wants to send her for an abortion? What a rascal! The girl shook with fear of being seen, but she forced herself to listen to the conversation to the end. There's no problem anymore. Jennifer heard that the father was beginning to lose patience. The problem solved itself. I didn't understand what Dad meant at the time, and later I learned that Melissa had died. I'm so sorry you had to find out all that. You know, Robert spoke slowly. I refused to believe that Melissa had betrayed me. I loved her so much. Didn't you? I literally idolized her, didn't want to see the obvious. I broke up with my friends who tried to open up to me about my fiancé. Now I know for a fact that there was no kind, sweet, open Melissa. You're right, I made her up. I'm sorry. Jennifer looked at Robert, not daring to look at him, and he was struck by her eyes. There was so much pain and compassion in them that the young man's heart suddenly ached. My family brought you pain. I have always felt a terrible sense of guilt toward you. I didn't know how to open your eyes. It's not your fault. Robert tried to calm her down. Yes, it is, she said stubbornly. I should have told you a long time ago. You probably wouldn't have believed me then, though. She smiled sadly. Melissa was misleading everyone with her charm, and I couldn't help it. Imagine if I came to you and told you that your fiancé was cheating on you. I wouldn't have believed it. That's why I didn't tell you before, but I don't want to keep quiet anymore. It's time to open that boil. She had no right to use you. You don't deserve to be treated like this. Jennifer. Robert looked at her thoughtfully. Explain to me why you decided to marry me. I'm filled with guilt. She confessed. I want to help heal your wounds. I know I can do it. I will be by your side until you finally come to your senses and learn to trust your feelings again. Then you'll meet a woman and you'll love her. And I'll be out of your life because you won't need me. Jennifer. The man squeezed the girl's hands and looked fondly into her eyes full of inexpressible sadness. I don't want you to go. You know, I suddenly realized that I don't need anyone but you. You're extraordinary, amazing. No, she objected. You're feeling grateful right now, but I don't want your gratitude. What do you need me for? I'm withdrawn. I like to be alone. I don't know how to get along with people. You need another wife. You don't know yourself. Robert said affectionately, I see a brave, caring, and defenseless girl in front of me. I want to embrace you, to be your protector, to guard your peace, so that no one would ever dare to hurt you even with a glance. But I can't give you anything. Jennifer answered confused. You are here beside me. I believe that in time, when we know each other better, we can truly love each other. It's the pity in you that speaks for a girl hurt by fate. Jennifer shook her head sadly. I don't believe in love, and I don't know how to love. My father killed that feeling in me, destroyed my faith. I'm just a shadow of a real person, and I'm burned out inside. You won't find happiness with me. Me. Robert took her face in his palms and looked directly into her eyes. Do you believe me? He saw how the expression of her eyes gradually changed. Among distrust, fear, confusion, suddenly flashed a ray of hope. The young man smiled broadly at the girl. I believe. Finally, hesitantly, she whispered, then we'll definitely succeed. They stepped out onto the deck, breathing in the cool sea air. They stood in each other's arms, looking up into the endless starry sky. They had found peace and freedom by finding each other through fate. The unwanted wedding was the beginning of a bright new life for both of them.